From Washington, this is VOA News. More deadly car bombings rip Baghdad. Anti-government protesters dismiss Thailand elections. I'm Ray Kugel reporting from Washington. A series of car bombs blasted parts of Baghdad Monday, killing at least 13 people. It is the latest in a month-long surge of violence in Iraq that's left 1,000 people dead and 1,500 injured. Edward Uranian reports.
Ambulances take casualties to hospitals after a car bomb exploded in the Haria district north of Baghdad. The bombings coincided with military operations by the Iraqi army in the restive, mostly Sunni Anbar province. Heavy fighting has been raging between the army and Islamic militants in and around the towns of Fallujah and Ramadi for more than a month. An army statement said 57 militants were killed Sunday and Monday in Ramadi. Edward Uranian for VOA News, Cairo.
Al-Qaeda says it is severing ties with the militant group fighting in Syria, the group known as the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. The authenticity of the Al-Qaeda statement cannot be verified independently. Al-Qaeda chief Ayman al-Zawahiri ordered the ISIL last year to operate independently from the Nusra Front, another Al-Qaeda-linked jihadist group in Syria. The ISIL ignored Zawahiri's directive and continued attempts to merge with the two branches. President Obama will be talking about the Syrian civil war during a visit to Saudi Arabia next month and talks with King Abdullah. White House correspondent Dan Robinson has more.
Long close allies, U.S.-Saudi relations have been severely strained. Saudi officials complained bitterly last year about what they saw as Mr. Obama's reluctance to intervene militarily in Syria or do more to arm rebels. Riyadh is providing weapons to the rebels. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney was asked Monday if scheduling Mr. Obama's stop in Riyadh was aimed at carrying out damage control.
Saudi Arabia is a close partner of the United States, and we have a bilateral relationship that is broad and deep and covers a range of areas. And the President very much looks forward to the visit, where all of those areas will be discussed in his meetings.
Dan Robinson, VOA News, the White House.
Anti-government protesters in Thailand marched through the streets of Bangkok on Monday, vowing to continue their demonstrations following snap elections. The demonstrators are trying to topple the caretaker government of Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra. The government says it will hold a second round of polls for about 10% of people who are not able to vote. However, the Election Commission said Monday it cannot schedule a make-up election until the protests end. Ukraine's President Viktor Yanukovych returned to work Monday after 4 days of sick leave. His return comes as opposition leaders seek changes to the country's constitution that would limit presidential powers and give Parliament more say in forming the government. The opposition is also demanding that Mr. Yanukovych resign and new presidential elections be conducted. Executors of Nelson Mandela's will say he left an estate of about just over $4 million, with the money going to family, staff, members, schools he attended, and South Africa's ruling party. The former South African president died in December at the age of 95. Corruption is costing European Union countries more than $160 billion a year. Lisa Bryant has details.
Presenting the main findings at a news conference in Brussels, European Home Affairs Commissioner Cecilia Malmström says corruption's yearly price tag was probably more than 120 billion euros, or about $161 billion. She says that's hurting the bloc's recovery from its economic crisis.
The report shows clearly that the level of corruption varies from member state to member state, but it also shows that it affects all member states. There are no corruption-free zones in Europe.
While it doesn't rank the bloc's 28 members, it does find that perceptions of widespread corruption are highest in countries like Greece, Spain, Italy, and the Czech Republic. Lisa Bryant for VOA News, Paris.
The new head of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, was sworn in Monday in Washington. She is the first woman to lead the central bank in its 100-year history. I'm Ray Kugel, VOA News. These and other stories on our website at voanews.com.
bring in, as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Good evening, my fellow patriots, my fellow Americans, friends, family members, and trolls. That's right, we got trolls. We got trolls. Oh, my God. You are listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host. You can join me here live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time and on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That is www.patriotfb.com. But before we get into the news and the topic and of tonight and everything, we take care of a little business. For those that have not been around for a while, Joe, this goes out to you, buddy. A little change up here, and this is for you. So please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag is a pledge to the ideals of our forefathers, the men who fought and died in the building of this great nation. It's a pledge to fulfill our duties and obligations as citizens of the United States and to uphold the principles of our Constitution. And last but not least, it's a pledge to maintain the four great freedoms cherished by all Americans: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
There you go, Mr. Lee Greenwood. Mr. Lee Greenwood, the American, the incomparable. Well, there we go. It's already back. For those that are getting me in your right side of your head, the left side. We changed out some cables thinking that would do it over the weekend, and, it worked. And, of course, when we go to Showtime, it does not work. So we're going to, once again, fix that. But before we do that, everybody please rise. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeffrey W. Norton, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the organic Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I am about to enter, so help me God. There we go. We got the little business taken care of, but For those that are new, and I know we got some new listeners out there, that's how we start our show. That's how we roll here. We get our priorities straight before we get into the news of the evening. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host. Join me on the web at www.patriotfb.com. Or right here live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. What a weekend! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! It was a crazy today. Even it kind of rolled over into the day. You know, we've hit mainstream there at Patriot FB. There's no doubt about it. Very interesting weekend. Started out with a few trolls. We actually uncovered some hidden trolls that were inactive, and then all of a sudden they decided to come out in full force. We then realized that there was a network. That's right. There was a network of, they kind of work together. They have their little blogosphere. You know, maybe we ought to go to their little blog and troll them. But, you know, let me kind of tell you what my feeling is. You know, we know there's just dipshits out there. I'm just going to say it. We know they're out there. We know that there are people who get off, you know, between them watching porn and killing kittens and kicking dogs. We know that there are a group of people out there who like to disrupt a good thing. Their sole purpose is to come up and disrupt something. And, you know, I equate that. Let me kind of explain to you how I feel about trolls, and especially hackers. I mean, I give everybody the opportunity to speak. There was one in particular that was on the side. I even told him, I was like, you know, this is some good stuff, you know, the stuff that you're putting up there. If it's true, makes me think. You know, and it doesn't take you long to listen to my show to realize that I'm not a Democrat. I'm definitely not a Democrat. I'm definitely not a libtard. And I'm not a GOPer. I don't root for them either. I don't carry their banner. I don't carry their water. I think that they're all corrupt. You know, like I've always said, you're either a slave to corporations or you're a slave to the government. So Patriot FB, you know, we encourage different viewpoints. But when you get in there and you're spewing, and maybe I'm a little bit slower on the uptake than most of you guys out there because you guys were flagging me early on. But I'm like, hey, you know, if they're gonna invoke thought and great conversation, I'm all for it. But then it got out there. Then I started seeing them tag team, and let me tell you, we have ways now, and all I want to tell the trolls is you're helping us. Thank you. Thank you. Because we haven't gone mainstream yet. We're still, you know, a thought in the process of our parents, right? We're not even an embryo yet. We're just a thought. And what you're doing, thank you. And I know that's crazy, and I get frustrated and, you know, and everything, but let me tell you why. Because what you're doing is you're showing us our weaknesses so that we can adjust. And we can overcome. And the other thing, too, is that you're also, besides pissing me off, we have friends who, believe it or not, might not believe in what we say. Actually, I've got a couple friends who are very staunch libertarians and a couple of them who are very staunch liberals. Very staunch. And they don't, you know, but the thing is they hate the suppression of free speech as well. They know me. They know that I'm all about the conversation. They know me personally. And let me tell you, these guys are some of the best in the business. And so we're tweaking. We're tweaking the sites. We're learning from where we do it that now they're engaged. You know, before I couldn't afford these guys. Seriously, I'm talking these guys. I mean, they start out at $10,000 just to even have them show up at your office. And now they're donating it because they, like me, understand that whatever your belief is, when you start diminishing someone's right to speak or free speech, you're not part of this great experiment, this great republic. You're a taker. You're not a giver. You're a taker. And they realize that. And they saw that firsthand. And so they, you've woken up a giant. Not just me. I mean, you think that posting a few pictures or doing whatever and saying, upsetting a few people, you think that's going to discourage me when we're sitting here talking about standing in the front lines and taking a bullet? Fighting this government, this military, this police state? You think that your words, your posts on a website are going to discourage me? Are going to discourage this movement? I mean, you completely lost your mind. You're definitely living in a fantasy world. It ain't going to happen. Because unlike you, we don't hide behind computers. We don't hide behind, mommy and daddy and their internet. Oh, by the way, we're going to post everyone's IP address. Yeah, because you came to my site and did what you did, or to our site, I have the right to post. I actually checked it with the attorneys. We're going to post your We're going to post your IP addresses. And then on top of that, the members of the site, if they choose to or not, it's up to them. Maybe we'll contact your ISP. So when your mommy and daddy get the letter in the mail from your ISP, because what you did is criminal, by the way. I just want to let you know that. When you log into a site under the Digital Millennium Act with the intent to disrupt and most of you guys here are stateside. You got your IPs. So we know where you're at. Because some of you are too stupid to learn how to IP mask. Oh, yeah. But even when you IP mask, we can still figure you out. So, it is what it is. So it was an interesting weekend. It's going to be an interesting couple of days. So, yes, we are going to post your IP addresses up. We're also going to post on how to contact your ISP. We already have listed you in several of the other forums and sites. We're going to do that. It's fine with, Yeah. It's kind of like, I never understood people that would come on the dial in.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
At this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with
That's annoying. Would dial in, give us a call, not thinking that we don't have your caller ID. So with that, we're going to take a break. When we get back from the break, we got to talk about news. We got some financial information, and we're going to catch you guys up to speed with. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show.
To thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
George stopped her and knocked her down and black in the eye. She get back home and tell her husband and I don't just stop me talking. I'll tell everybody I know. I'm gonna break up the signifying. Oh, we gotta go. All right.
That was the Doobie Brothers, for those that don't know. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. I'm here in full armor. After a day of battling trolls, I like to drink Colombian coffee. No, I feel like popping a beer. That's not a drinker. You know, I'm not really a drinker. So I got my cup of coffee. You know, this was actually sent to me earlier today from a friend who was just laughing. You know, and like I said, it definitely will piss you off. Don't get me wrong, or upset you. But it is what it is, right? That's what happens when you step in this arena. But here's a little sound bit from a buddy of mine who sent me this and said that this is so appropriate for us.
Between trail mix and gorp.
Aren't there M&Ms too?
No, because that would be gorp.
Oh,
guys,
good point.
look at this bridge. It's huge.
It's approaching my place.
Oh my God, it's a troll.
A troll?
Don't worry, guys. I know how to handle this. I assume we'll have to answer your questions 3.
Faggot.
Oh, you're an internet troll.
What's an internet troll?
I've heard of these. They emerged from Usenet after the Great Flame War of '99. They feed off of negative reactions.
We don't want any trouble, good sir. We're just on our way to
Get an abortion. Abortion should be for free in Walmart.
Well, that's an extreme stance on what's a very nuanced issue.
All teenage girls should be required to get abortions.
Aaron, be careful.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. How can society ever endorse something like that?
Gay people celebrate 9/11 like it's their f***ing birthday. 9/11 is like Christmas for gay people.
You shut up! You were ignorant! You don't know anything about my stuff!
Oh my God, man! Oh, we have to get out of here!
No, we can do this, okay? He's just baiting us.
What?
He wants us to snap. He's feeding off of our anger, all right? I got this.
Okay.
Hi.
All Jews deserve to die in the Holocaust.
I know you're just saying that to get me mad. I know you don't mean it.
I'm just kidding. Everyone knows the Holocaust didn't happen.
Good one. Me and my friend were just wondering if...
Steve Jobs owns a PC.
What the f*** did you say? I will f***ing kill you, you piece of shit.
Where you going? There's no kitchen that way.
Hi, Mr. Troll.
Rape victims are just big old whiners.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna wear a low-cut shirt, you're basically asking for it, right?
I'm a Scientologist, so I think Michelle Obama's a big old bitch-ass femme-Nazi dyke. Hitler's dick.
Yeah. Hey, you've probably been under this bridge all day. Do you maybe want to get a cup of coffee?
What? No! Tits and GTFO!
Are you sure? We could just relate to each other. I know how hard it must be. Trapped in your middle-class cave, your lawyer troll parents working all the time.
Yes. I could use a friend.
Do you mean that genuinely? With no hint of irony or snarkiness whatsoever?
Yes. I mean, no!
There you go. How appropriate that is. And like I said, I just had to laugh. Had to laugh when I heard that. It's just so appropriate. That's how I feel sometimes. That's how, I'm naive to this. I have to say, like I said, I've been considered a troll, a Shrek. I'm a pretty big guy, pretty ominous. But, I tend to take people at their word. I take, when people tell me tell me something. So I'm a little naive, as Sandy would say, to all of this. So, but I'm learning. I'm learning very, very quickly that there are people out there who, no matter what you do, no matter how you reach out to them, no matter what you do, they have an agenda. I mean, and their agenda, I'm pretty clear on it. You can't reason with them. And I've heard a lot of people say you can't reason with libtards. You can't reason. What do I say this without being too derogatory? Well, I don't care. You can't reason with them. That's the battle that we're up against, America, my fellow patriots. That's the battle. That mindset of we're not going to come at you with fact. We're going to call you names. We're going to insult you. We're going to attack you. We're going to attack your infrastructure. We're going to attack your communication. We're going to, we're not going to have debate. Now, you don't see me going out to Mother Jones and posting hateful. I mean, everybody has a right to believe what they want to believe, even though it's wrong. You still have a right to believe it. I'm not going to go out to your site and attack you. I'm not going to go out to your site and use my abilities to shut your servers down. That's criminal. That's a crime. I equate that to, when you attack a server, I equate that to throwing rocks through someone's window. Not necessarily breaking in, but when you shut their server down through a denial of service attack or whatever, you're throwing rocks through a window. You are creating damage. And a lot of these people don't realize the amount of time and effort and cost that it goes through. They realize they don't care. That's why they do it. That's why they get their rocks off doing this stuff. They don't realize that it takes away. But they don't realize that it also firms up beliefs. It makes people stronger. When you see this stuff and you go through it, it just all it does is build someone's fortitude. Like I said, I mean, you're dealing with a group here at Patriot FB. We're a group of individuals patriots, who will truly stand toe-to-toe with the government. So your actions are futile. They're aggravating, yes, but they're futile. Because it's not going to diminish us. It's not going to cause us to stray away from our intended objective, and that is to take this country back. And when we take it back, to root out individuals like you. That's right, I said it. Because we don't ever want to go back when we fight. When America kicked the British out, do you think they quartered the British? Think about that. No. See, and the part that really gets me, that I just don't understand, your First Amendment right, your right to free speech, is protected by my Second Amendment right as well. And, unlike you, I'm not going to withhold my Second Amendment right. I will protect you as well. Yeah. And most patriots will. Most patriots will. So keep the attacks coming. It's just going to make us stronger. It's going to show us our weaknesses in our lines, and then in our lines of defense, and we'll just we'll just get stronger. That's right. We're going to get stronger, not weaker. Every attack, every prod, every mistruth that you spew, just going to make us stronger. See, You're probably used to, in your circle with your libtard friends, hiding behind your mother's skirt when the times get tough. But us as patriots, we rise. We rise to the occasion, and we also rise to the fight. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. Join me on the web at www.patriotfb or right here from every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time.
For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
We were told nothing could be done to enjoy these final moments together.
But in that moment, when all seemed lost,
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital gave us hope.
Because at this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care. We're changing the way the world treats childhood cancer by sharing our discoveries with doctors and scientists everywhere.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and join St. Jude in finding cures and saving children. Visit stjude.org.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. Sorry about that. Sorry. But I am your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time or on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com. And actually, patriotfb.com. So, but what a day. All right, enough about the trolls. Let's move on. We got things to cover, things to talk about. Let's talk about this. Some of you guys that took the oath. Of course, I hope you didn't say my name. I hope you filled in your name in your head as I was reading it to you. The Organic Constitution. And, that came about from a conversation that I had with Tom. I think it's important that we all take an oath to defend the Constitution. And I know a lot of you guys, the criticism once again is, well, what office? Well, I hold the office of citizen. It's the most important office in this country. And I know that most politicians get away from it. They don't believe that. They believe that they're the most important. The world will stop moving without them, and, we'd have mayhem in the streets and all of that. But the reality is that the citizen is the most important office in this land. And, why did I interject the organic Constitution? Because I have actually been to school. I got schooled, thank you, Thomas. Actually, you can listen to Thomas right here, right after Michael's show, AVN, America's Voice Now. Not American, but America's Voice Now. His show's from 8 until 10, and then Thomas joins us in Restore the Republic from 10 to 11, and, deals with the issues of the 14th Amendment, the Constitution, and all issues related to it. And it's just amazing. Thomas has a great show. We're, going to try to get him here live on 2 hours. 2 hours instead of just one. But I see that we have a caller, so we're going to go to the caller. Caller, are you there? Caller?
Yeah, Jeff, I'm here. It's Matt from Lodi, California.
Hey, Matt. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing real well tonight. I'm a little depressed about the Super Bowl, or lack thereof.
Oh, don't worry about it. I didn't even get to watch it.
Yeah.
So,
well,
so
you didn't miss nothing.
For those who don't know, I'm a huge Peyton Manning fan because he went to the University of Tennessee, so I have to support Go Vols.
I had to support Denver as well because number 80, one of their wide receivers, I think he's tight end, is actually a Tokay High School boy.
Okay.
So
all right,
he's a local boy.
I got you. It was. I heard it was pretty bad. I'm glad Green Bay never went because I think they would have got destroyed by Seattle based upon what I've heard about it. But
yeah. Well, I hope I'm not really bothering you. I mean, I know I call in quite a bit here lately.
No, you're more than welcome, my friend. Hey, look, this whole show's all about the conversation. It's not, so I enjoy when people call in. It makes it a little bit more interesting than you guys sitting here listening to me for 3 hours.
Well, I tell you what, I do appreciate you accepting my friend's request on PatriotFB.com.
Not a problem.
I thought that was really, really cool.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't do it sooner.
Well, no, it's I will report. I'm not complaining, but I'll report. I had some problems logging in today.
Yes.
And it was not off the big G.
Yes.
Surprisingly enough.
Yep.
Oh, Yahoo's threw me the wrong direction.
Yeah, no, it wasn't you. All right, so let me kind of tell you what we were under a huge troll attack and a huge system-wide attack over the weekend, and then it spewed into today. And so, like I said, Cloudflare, who's our provider of our CDNs, our content and delivery network, they normally charge $200 a month for their pro services, their DDoS attack services. For those that are logging in, you guys are going to see that you're going to go to a page first, and then it will log you into Patriot. Then it will take you to Patriot FB. What that is, that's a service that Cloudflare normally charges $200 a month. So I got to thank the trolls. I really do, because that's a service, with our budget that we just couldn't afford. Well, because they pissed off Cloudflare so much. Cloudflare, they just said, here, we're going to give it to you. We're going to give you, this is a service that, like I said, that they normally charge $200 a month for. They said, we're just giving it to you. It's yours. It's our donation to your cause, to your movement. So I have to, I mean, I know it's aggravating that you go to a Cloudflare thing. What they're doing, for all of those that don't know, they're verifying that you are who you say you are. You're not spoofing. You're not, and then also that you don't have malware that will open up, and do denial of service attacks. And that's
I'll be honest with you, Jeff. Yeah. I mean, when I have issues and I have problems, I'm even having issues with tonight's radio show. For some reason, you're coming in and out on me. Yeah. They won't let me have all my data. I just kind of laugh.
Yeah.
I have fun with it. It's no big deal to me.
Well, I think everybody else. I'm listening. I'm sitting here in the chat. No one else is talking about that. So, I think it actually is. I think that is your data I don't hear anybody else complaining on the site as far as, not getting us. But I do apologize. We're trying to, eventually we will go shortwave and do all that. I've been talking with JJ about it, and
there's way too many FCC regulations in shortwave.
Oh, there's too many regulations in there's too many regulations in doing internet. Believe it or not, I have to comply with all of the FCC stuff. As far as, I can speak however I want to speak over the internet, but as far as playing music, I still have to do I have to do all of that. But then on top of that, because this is a digital medium, there's other rules under the NDA, which is the Digital Millennium Act. There's a whole other set of rules for us, and they don't apply to radio stations on what we can and cannot do. And believe it or not, those are felonies. Those aren't, it's bad enough when you got ASCAP BMI knocking on your door and saying, oh, by the way, you owe us X amount of dollars for copyright infringement, right? It's another thing when the federal government, when they prosecute you under the Digital Millennium Act. And trust me, they would if they could. I mean, because, we're counter against the government. So, of course, we would be an easy target for them.
Right. And getting back to a couple of shows ago, I believe you made some references to some social situations due to crime and overpopulation. I believe they led to overpopulation. Mm-hmm. But basically the crime, the little ghettos of areas, and how it's not desirable to live there. And I agree with that. It's not desirable to live there.
Yeah.
But I just kind of wanted to reference back to that point.
Sure. Yeah, I mean...
Just for a moment.
Yeah, let me bring everybody up to speed. We were talking about, one of the things that really kills me is that the government wants to keep people oppressed. They really do. They want to keep people... And, the government will come to you and they're going to give you a check. And they're going to say... Well, here's your little check, and that might be a lot of money, or to most people in that area, that might be a lot of money. But it's never enough to get you out of that situation. You're always going to be in the need of the want, and that's what So I argue that fact is that I want to bring people out of that. I want to get jobs. I want to get people. I don't want to force. I don't want to force a payroll increase on the business owner, but I want to get people working again. I want to bring you out of that economic poverty. I want to get you back into school. I want to get you, but but if you want this, you're gonna have to play by the rules. You've already
implementing somewhat of a government structured ghetto.
Yeah, I mean, and so I'm a firm believer in I don't want to say ghetto. I want to bring people out of the ghetto. I want them to contribute. Everybody, look, this is my belief. Everybody.
No, not that you want to put people in. No. You just had referenced it.
Yeah. Yes. And so I just wanted to bring everybody back to speed. That's the conversation we had in the last night's show. So go ahead with your observations or your comments.
Well, I just want to add that I've kind of lived. I've lived both sides of the spectrum.
Yep.
I've lived where money was never a problem, never an issue, never a discussion. Mm-hmm. I've also lived on the other side of the spectrum where you didn't know where tomorrow's night's dinner was coming from.
Oh, yeah.
Currently, I live in an area of Lodi that is now referred to as Little Mexico.
Gotcha.
It is a notorious gang area.
Yeah.
The Sureños, the Mexican mafia, supposedly. That's what my neighborhood is notorious for.
Yeah.
And I moved in happily.
Yeah.
And people didn't understand it. No one around me understood why I'm a Caucasian American, born and bred, red-blooded American, could move into an area that's predominantly, let's be honest, in my neighborhood, I'm one of two families on the entire street that's white.
Yeah.
The honest reason, the rent's cheap, the house is nice.
Yep.
And I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
When I moved in, I walked in with my black Stetson and my rifle on my shoulder, and I made sure everybody saw it.
Yeah.
I went in, I put it away, After that, I went and shook my neighbor's hands.
Yeah.
Introduced myself.
Yep.
Treated everybody as people, learned who I didn't want to deal with.
Yeah.
And who was the families on my street that were just trying to keep what they worked for.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I'm gonna stop you. You know, this is a big misconception, and that's why I talk about this. I've got friends who are ex-gangbangers who are, you know, they grew up, you know, they got married, they have families outside, and they realize that's not and they're bettering themselves and have bettered themselves than most of my white collar friends. You know, those guys are still criminals. Some of them are still criminals in a sense. They do all sorts of things, you know, that I'm just like, I don't know how you guys can sleep at night trying to make money, you know, with mortgages and banking, all that stuff. And one of the things I learned about people in general, now, granted, like trolls that were on the site, reference back to that, you got some people you'll just never get through. And those are the people you just got to just, you know, dust off the dirt off your shoes and move on, as the good Lord would say. But there are most people who want to, you know, they if you respect them and you respect them as human beings and not as, you know, a gang member or a Latino or a black or whatever, if you respect them as human beings and stuff, you're going to find that that's going to open up a huge amount of conversation, and you're going to find similarities in situations, and you know what, you're going to protect each other too, which is also important from the wolves.
I have absolutely no gang activity on my block.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
None.
Yep.
And my point being is that even though I live in what's considered to be one of those government organized ghettos, you know, people of low income move here. You know, I did it by choice.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't bother me.
Yep.
Is that it is what you make it.
Yeah.
They know what you will put up with. They know what you won't put up with.
Yeah.
When I hear someone screaming, I walk out my door and I look.
Yeah.
Do they need help?
Yeah, the lights go on. Yeah. I mean, because you're a good neighbor. And
the only reason ghettos stay ghettos is because that philosophy does not exist. Because people with that philosophy don't move in and take back over that area.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I live in an area, this area here is very blue collar. Sandy and I, we had the monster house, you know, in the gated community. And we looked at each other and we're like, why do we need this huge house? You know, our lives were miserable. And so we, you know, luckily we were able to get out of it. Where we live I've got a lot of my snobby friends are like, why are you living over there? Why don't you live over? Because there's certain areas, you know, and I'm like, well, because, you know, this area is nice. The house is exactly what we need. And, you know, it's perfect for us. And it's hilarious because it is right down, I go down, it's funny, we call it the Brothers. It's a barbershop, just like the show Barbershop. And, you know, I walk in there, I get some looks from some new customers, but everybody there knows me. And as far as cutting the hair and everything, and that's where I go. And I'm part of the community here. And it's hilarious being Southern, you know, when during the summer, when there's a cookout behind the barbecue, you know, we talk about pulled pork sandwiches and, you know, talk about Witt's Barbecue in Tennessee and also, you know, but I did the same thing in Chicago. When I lived in Chicago, there's an area called Stony Island, which is the Africa Hyde Park area, which is Africa. There's only one place where I can go and get good Southern food. And I'm not talking Cracker Barrel. I'm talking good grits, you know, good, you know, head cheese. For those that don't know what, it's called Moo and Oink. And I would go down to Stone and I would get it. And, you know, I'm the only white guy in the neighborhood and everybody's looking. And naturally I would have, you know, I worked during the day, so I'd have to do it at night. And everybody's like, look at the crazy white boy. And it got to the point where Mama, her name was Mama, that's what everybody called her. You know, you go in there, and his Mama's be like, oh, hey, you know, how's my white boy doing? She called me Oreo every once in a while, or just joking around with me. And, you know, and that's just the way it was. And that's where I got this belief. Now, like I said, you got idiots everywhere. don't kid yourself. I'm on alert because you have some people who are going to take advantage of what they think.
Well, you know, the story you just told me is a story I have lived for several years. And you know what? The reason you were able to enjoy that kind of interaction was because people had thick skin.
Yeah.
Nowadays, and I hate to put it this way, but pussies write laws.
Oh, I got you.
I'm
with you.
I don't know any other way to word it, but that's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah.
And they write laws, but real people do what's right because it's right.
Yeah. Yeah. We do, we do. I mean, it's I don't you. It upsets me because we have gotten to the state of our social being here in the United States where, and a lot of it is because of the constant fear, the media trying to make us afraid of the white man or afraid of the black or afraid of the Mexican or afraid, and that's in the news all the time here in the United States. And if you got to get out of your area. One of my favorite things to do, and Sandy gets mad at me for doing it, I like going to like the restaurants in the neighborhood, and I'm not talking about Chili's or whatever, but we have up here, we have this Mexican a Mexican area, and if I want Mexican food, I don't go to Chile. I'll go to Taco Bell because I like Taco Bell. That's not Mexican, that's fast food. I actually go up to this Mexican where you go in and you speak, the daughters speak English, but the parents all it's a little like store. It's not even that they put a restaurant in the corner, and the parents don't speak a lick of English, and the daughters are all English, and you go in there and you some of the best food, and and then what happens is you're in there and then you meet people and you start having conversations with people, and then you start learning about different cultures, and next thing you know, you're invited to some party or something, and it's awesome. I mean, I love it when those things happen, and
you have to be careful with things like that, though, and people need to understand when they are customers of businesses like this.
Yeah.
If they're a brick and mortar, that's fine. They're paying taxes.
Yeah.
Lodi is 15 square miles.
Yep.
That's our core town square footage. We're 15 square miles. For that kind of food, we have trucks. Taco trucks have overrun our town.
Yeah. Yeah, the truck. Yeah,
they're good.
Yeah.
Oh, they're really good. But I don't use them. Only if I absolutely have to. Because I have one right across the street from where I work.
Yeah.
But I don't use them because they don't report to the government. They don't pay unemployment insurance. They don't pay Social Security tax. They don't pay sales tax. Yeah. It's an all-cash business. They don't report nothing.
I got you.
So I try not to use them.
I got you.
But I also did some reading a while back. You did some talking on Agenda 21.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was very, 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 very weird reading.
Yes.
It was weird just to get to the actual documentation of it.
Yep.
I'm still not able to download a copy of the publication.
Yeah, let me see. One of the things that and it's on top of, like I said, there's so many other things I've got to do. I actually have the original documentation that was done in Brazil. I have it in a PDF form. One of the things that we were trying to get set up a long time ago, but we had so many other issues, obviously, was a document management system like our video system where we can put those documents up there and share with you. But I will post a link to mine where I got mine at Patriot FB. Okay. If I don't do it tonight, because we got some database stuff that we're doing, but if I don't do it tonight, just remind me on Patriot FB, or I know that Joe's listening, so Joe will remind me as well. And everything.
The part I was able to get to that directly affects the United States as a whole.
Yep.
was the only thing. Well, basically, what I got from it was, I consider myself great at paraphrasing. I think you know that now. The paraphrasing I get from it is that it's a voluntary referendum that was organized by multiple world leaders during an economic summit.
Yep.
And an environmental summit.
Yes.
The only way that I can see that really translates to the United States at this point is the Farm Bill.
Well, it translates because part of it, too, I know because I hear this a lot from people say, well, it's a voluntary treaty. And it's like, well, number one, there's no such thing as a voluntary treaty.
Right.
What has happened is that President Bush Sr. recognized it and basically took it under advisement in his administration.
No. This has been in the works since 1989, and Clinton actually endorsed it to start with.
Hold on. President Bush, President Bush Sr., if you go back to the history, he actually endorsed it. He actually got the ball rolling about the time that he, got up there and did his big speech on New World Order. He actually he endorsed. He didn't endorse it. He recognized it. Then President Bill Clinton endorsed it. Then George Bush Jr.
Oh, you're absolutely right, because the first rendition of it was 89.
That's right. And then George Bush then came in and not only recognized it, but started to implement some of it. And then the scary part is that if you read the timings of it, it just happened to fall under the time that President Barack Obama is in office, and now he is actually implementing bits and pieces of it. There was a 13 million acre land grab that he did, and then there's some. But my thing is this. This is not a Dem or a GOP or a Republican. This is a government-led, New World Order designed model for how, and it is affecting us. Obamacare, if you read into the document, I got to get it to you, but in 2014,
it's in Agenda 21.
Yeah, we were supposed to have it in 2014, and guess what we got right now? So,
yeah, I was absolutely astonished. See, I work with farmers.
Yeah.
I work on their equipment. I have to understand their needs. I have to understand where their money's coming from. I have to understand when they get money and when they don't.
Mm-hmm.
So when you brought up Agenda 21, and I did some research on it, I actually spent Sunday morning reading the Farm Bill.
Yeah.
Now, I thought I had a pretty good understanding of what the Farm Bill was. That's what dictated what we paid for a gallon of milk.
Yep.
That's what dictated what we paid for a pound of hamburger meat.
Yep.
Oh, my God, was I wrong?
Yeah. It will open your eyes. And, like I said, is everything we see now is it's in that bill. I mean, it's in the Agenda 21. So, love to talk to you.
It blew me away.
Do you
what the United States is doing to actually control us?
We're coming up to a hard break. Hate to stop you. We're coming up to a hard break. Do you want to hang out until after the break, or do you want to call us back?
Sure, I'll hang out because there's a lot of stuff I can tell you about the Farm Bill that farmers actually are doing.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to hear from it. And for all those that are out there listening and everything, we're going to talk about Agenda 21. Great conversation, great topic. I know that our right channel is the only one working. We're coming out one side of your head. We'll get that fixed after the break. But you are listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. We're taking caller calls and having that conversation. So after we get back from the break, we will
you are listening to
continue on.
.com.
From Washington, this is VOA News.
Fresh violence in Central African Republic. A trial related to the Rwandan genocide to get underway today in Paris. I'm Victor Beatty reporting from Washington. A priest in the Central African Republic says at least 75 people have been killed in a new round of interreligious violence. The Reverend Cassian Kamatari says the killings occurred over the past 6 days in Boda, about 100 kilometers west of the capital Bangui, after former Seleka rebels stopped in the town. In a VOA interview, the priest said that before leaving last Tuesday, the fighters closed off the town's main road and gave weapons to the local Muslim population. Beginning Tuesday night, he says people heard gunshots. He said the town is short of food and water and appealed for international forces to intervene. Meanwhile, in Bangui, residents ran for cover Monday as gunfire erupted in the Mesquite neighborhood. This is a neighborhood that is mostly Muslim and has been the target of looters and arsonists. This resident, whose name is Georges, says the situation is terrible. We're suffering. There is no peace. The CAR grappling with a wave of sectarian violence that has displaced thousands. About 1,600 French and 5,000 African peacekeepers have been unable to halt the fighting. In Nigeria, violence in the north is on the rise. A Christian pastor and prominent Muslim sheikh, Adam Albani, were both murdered over the weekend, days after scores of others were killed in separate attacks in Borno and Adamawa states. The attacks are in an area where the Islamist group Boko Haram maintains hideouts. Here's reporter Heather Murdoch.
Boko Haram militants are blamed for thousands of deaths in the past 4.5 years in attacks on churches, mosques, schools, media houses, security forces, and government institutions. Khalid Alihu Abubakar is the Secretary General of Jama'atu Nasril Islam, an Islamic umbrella organization in northern Nigeria. Speaking to VOA from a car on his way to Zaria to attend Sheikh Albani's funeral and meet with other religious leaders, he notes that the murders have been blamed on Boko Haram, but no one has taken responsibility for the attacks.
The greatest challenge now posed to the security agencies in this country to investigate, to dig out and find out and tell us.
Heather Murdoch for VOA News, Abuja.
In Paris today, a former Rwandan intelligence chief, Pascal Simbekongwa, is set to appear for a trial expected to take weeks to face charges of complicity in crimes against humanity in Rwanda. Dafroza Gautier, who lost relatives in the genocide, calls this a historic moment for victims who have been waiting for this trial for 20 years. Activists say they hope the trial will remind French leaders of their role and responsibility in Africa, where French troops have been deployed in CAR and Mali, and mark an end of an era when France was viewed as a haven for those suspected of committing atrocities. In 2004, the European Court of Human Rights condemned Paris for taking too long to consider legal challenges over the Rwanda genocide, in which hundreds of thousands were killed in the 1990s. An Egyptian court Monday adjourned the trial of the Muslim Brotherhood Supreme Guide over violence in the wake of last July's ouster of Islamist President Mohamed Morsi. Mohamed Badia is accused of inciting violence in the Nile Delta city of Kaloub that left 2 dead. The trial of Badia and 47 others, part of a crackdown by authorities against Morsi supporters that had left hundreds dead, thousands more in detention. In Zimbabwe, the central bank is allowing more currencies, including the Japanese yen, Chinese yuan, Indian rupee, and Australian dollar, to circulate to ease that country's liquidity crunch. Christopher Mugaga is a Zimbabwean economic analyst.
By introducing a basket of currency, it will not necessarily be a solution to solving the liquidity crunch. As you know, that currency introduction will not be easier to use as an implementation measure. Currency can only be meaningful when the economy is in a good shape. And with the current economic situation in Zimbabwe, it's quite very difficult for the introduction of the 4 other currencies to make a difference in terms of revival of the market itself.
Zimbabwe abandoned its own currency in 2009 after hyperinflation rendered it worthless. Instead, adopted foreign currencies, including the U.S. dollar and South African rand. Meanwhile, Zimbabwe's cricketers have agreed to end their boycott over unpaid wages and are returning to training after being promised money by next week. Coach Andy Waller says the national squad will meet today for fielding practice and fitness tests after striking for 2 months over unpaid wages and bonuses. I'm Victor Beatty, VOA News. More can be found at our internet website. That address once again.
soldier's son. His hands were meant for different work, and his heart was known to none. He left his home and went his lone and solitary way, and he gave to me a gift I know.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. That is the incomparable Dan Fogelberg, leader of the band there. Hopefully we rebooted. I just want to give a shout out before we get back to the caller and we talk about Agenda 21. To, you know, we are a family here at Patriot FB, and when a family member does something incredibly great or outstanding, we got to give shouts out. Mark Goodwin, who is Prepper Recon, he's on here every Thursday, just published his second book, American Meltdown. And this is for those that have been waiting, like myself, who have his first book. This is outstanding. Can't wait. This is going to be an incredible. There's a lot of suspense. And Mark tells me apparently I am in there. And so, no, I am not a talk show host. I am not I'm carrying a Barrett 50 pup. So, thanks, Mark. I appreciate that. So, I just wanted, so get out there to Amazon, and it's called American Meltdown. American Meltdown by Mark Goodwin, Goodwin. Great series. I mean, I read his first book and just highly enjoyed it. It was a great read. It was actually very, very easy to read. And I'm not saying easy in the sense of, kindergarten easy. I'm saying it just flowed. And there was just a ton of information, a wealth of information in the book that was practical, that was actually real, based in reality, and a ton of biblical. I'll have to tell you, I got a lot of my spiritual information and stuff from that book as well. So from his previous. So get out there, go to patriotfb.com and take a look at it. And it's called American Meltdown from Mark Goodwin. Now, going back to the caller, we were talking with our good friend in Lodi, California, about Agenda 21. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So I'll get, like I said, either myself or Joe or one of us will grab that document. We'll get it posted up there so everybody can read it. I think everybody, there's two books or two things I want everybody to read. Number one, and the first one, I apologize in advance, but it's very important that you understand the mindset. And you got to remember that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are also big fans of Sal Alinsky as well. And so you've got Rules for Radicals. You've got to go out there and you've got to get those books, because you're going to, even though, the presidency's over in 2016, you're still going to be fighting that mindset. And we've got to get, you've got to get, people got to do that. And then the second book that you need to read is Agenda 21. And it's the one with, if you go out to Amazon.com, it's the one with the green cover. That is the actual condensed. Now, like I said, there are PDF publicated versions of it from the actual, from the conference, and we'll get those posted as well. But the Agenda 21 book is an excellent book. Well, it's a horrible book, but it's an excellent resource, and that tells you where we're going. And like I said, the Agenda 21 tells you where we're going, and if you stay in this, this libtard socialist mentality, and the Rules for Radicals are going to show you how they're going to get there, and it's crazy.
I was very startled to realize that Agenda 21. Mm-hmm. Started as early as 1989.
Yeah, it started prior to that, and
it could, like you say, it could be earlier, but officially 1989. Yeah. So we're talking 30 years in the making.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and I'm reading documentation from 30 years ago.
Yep.
And I'm seeing the fruition of that documentation through our legislation. Oh my God, I'm a poet.
Yeah. No, it's amazing, because what they, what they did is that they came together. Well, you got to read that. You got to really just read the book to get into the history of it.
Well, like I said, the most direct translation that I could see that actually affects us Americans on our pocketbook is the Farm Bill.
Yes.
And we all think that's just what tells us what we pay for, a gallon of milk.
Yep.
But I started reading it because it affects my customers. And I had no idea what was written into that bill that was so ridiculous. They pay my customers not to grow food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't grow this crop this year, and we'll pay you for the crop anyway.
Yep.
We're going to buy this piece of land from you because we're going to declare it protected, and you get to keep owning it, and we can't take it from you, but you can't let any cattle graze or grow anything there.
Yep. Absolutely. And actually, I want to tell you that like always, Joe is back. He actually, if you go out to patriotfb.com, the actual document, the Agenda 21 document, he did pull it from a PDF, so it's there.
Well, and they do this in the name of securing our sustainability.
Yeah, well, the whole concept. Now, you got to remember that Agenda 21 was written, the two main authors of Agenda 21. One is actually in China because he can't come into the United States because he would get prosecuted. And he was a huge.
Are you legally allowed to tell me his name?
I will. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up right now because I want to get it right. Yeah. Of course, it comes up as here we go. Put it in the good old the good old Googler here. I have to, I used to know all this. I got to get my cheat sheets out. I'm sure Joe.
Oh, that's okay. Put it on Patriot.
Yeah, Joe will grab it. But one of them. Well, it's not Soros. I want to say it's Soros, but it is not Soros. He was the one that was indicted for the oil for Iran scandal. Why he was there? I know what he got in trouble for when he was under the UN, and then you had the socialist doctor who is a part of the Socialist Party and makes no bones about it as far as her affiliation with it. I know Joe put up there in the book. Yeah, the Agenda 21.
I had one of my customers, and I'm not kidding you, and this falls under that Agenda 21, which for us is in legislation is the Farm Bill. He was paid not to grow cherries that year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he could figure out, and I'm not kidding you, and listen to how stupid this sounds. So he could figure out how to use recycled newsprint as pillow stuffing. And he was paid to do this.
Wow.
And he failed miserably. I mean, how are you going to use newspaper to make pillow stuffing? I mean, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah. Well,
but he was paid by our government to do this.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah, it happens. I mean, there's things, and if you're in the farming business and stuff, you know that the government pays farmers, like you said, not to produce. Now, what they'll do is that they'll come back and they'll talk to farmers about, well, you shouldn't. And this is a story that they give us
what I'm getting at is from the farmers I know, which we're the new Napa Valley. We grow grapes. We're the best wine country in the world right now. We grow all kinds of food in this valley for the entire country. And what I understand right now for my farmer customers, it's more profitable not to grow us food.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You tell me where that's right.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
They ain't farming anymore to make an honest living. They're farming to suck my dollars. Yep. Where's that right?
No, I'm yeah. I mean, you hear about it all the time where they subsidize these farmers and they tell them not to do the crops. Now, they'll tell you and I the reason why they want to do that is to keep the farmers from overproducing and everything.
And see, I used to think that the Farm Bill only meant that they paid the farmers for what they lost, for what they couldn't sell. That's what I used to think when I thought I had a good understanding of the bill.
Yes.
But I was dead wrong.
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing, too, is they'll tell you that, well, we're doing that so to keep them from overproducing, and that way we don't have they control supply and demand. And there was a time in which, in the wheat market, here's a great example, in the 1920s, right before the Great Collapse, where the farmers were overproducing the wheat, and because the government was buying it up and everything, they were overproducing, and then they got stuck. And of course, then with the overproduction, you had the great dust bowls that came through because of the overfarming, and so the government, the theory is that the government stepped in to keep that. And I understand that some of that was probably true. But in today's day and age, it's more so about the manipulation of markets. It has nothing to do with overproduction or underproduction. It's all about the
right.
If you want to see a manipulated market in the United States, look at sugarcane. Sugarcane is hugely protected market. There's certain families who control all of the sugar. And now a lot of people say, well, sugar, why? Well, sugar is pretty much the number one ingredient besides water. in all
That's
of
been gold since they started trading.
Yes, and that's the thing is that they, and that's another one. So, yeah, this is all, like I said, this is all part of the agenda. You have the EPA coming in. You had this administration, 13 million acres they seized up as national land, and then you go to any United States monument, be it the Smoky Mountains or the Washington any of the monuments, and they got UNESCO. They're considered World Heritage Sites, and technically that puts them under the guise because of treaties. And I know a lot of you guys are like, well, it's America. You don't realize a treaty, the president can enter into it, the Senate approves it, or it's ratified, and then, it's basically binding. Now, like my father always said, well, they can't take it with them. But yes, they can, because they can manipulate how it is portrayed, or they can manipulate, like the Alamo. They want to make that a national heritage site. And
now you're speaking of the Senate, that they can manipulate everything. The Senate can manipulate everything.
Oh,
Everyone has to remember our history lessons. We have to go back to when we were taught.
Yeah, no.
We have a Roman archaic government structure.
Yep.
We have a House, we have a Senate. Our Senate is supposed to represent our government. Our House is supposed to represent our people. So where our people, our patriots, have the most effect is in the House.
Yep.
But we're aiming a little too big. But see, the problem is that our House has the same agenda as our Senate.
Yeah.
And we need to recognize that.
Yep. You know what? This is, you're absolutely correct. I mean, and this is the thing is, they talk about the Alamo, and they're going to make the Alamo a National Heritage Site, and they're going to make it an educational site. They are going to, and I'm telling you, when I say they, I'm going to say the New World Order. See, America, the Alamo is Americana. As much as the flag, apple pie, baseball, that is Americana. That is where we as a country, took a stand. And now they want to make it a UNESCO site, and they talked about making it a UNESCO learning site. So what you're going to hear, is how we, the Americans, took the Alamo away from Santa Ana. You're going to hear. I mean, that's what it's going to end up, and that's how damning this is. Now, this is what is crazy. Here's a great example of of mainstream media. Just 3 months ago or 4 months ago, I was able to put in Agenda 21 co-authors, and Google then would return to me the names of who co-authored the Agenda 21 without an issue. And let me tell you, the reason why I want to get their names is because one of them is actually indicted by the he actually had to go to China, and he's hiding in communist China against his indictment. The other one is from Norway, and she was a doctor who was very like the director of Planned Parenthood, or the original director of Planned Parenthood, or the person that created Planned Parenthood, was a eugenicist who actually believed that the reason why we have abortion clinics has nothing to do with helping the women. It has about keeping the population down. And I'm going to quote her so people don't misquote. She actually, in her writings and her teaching, saying we need to have these centers to keep the black and the yellow babies from overtaking the country. And that's exactly the mother of Planned Parenthood. So, it's funny because it's like having, Heimlich Himmler or Goebbels, talking about, well, we need to have showers for Jews. Because we don't want
on that respect, I'm just about getting ready to go to bed.
All right, sir.
And I'm glad we've had a great conversation.
Yeah, it's all about the conversation.
But on that respect, with as far as the black and the yellow babies, I'd like to leave you with another quote. And it's John Travolta from the movie A White Man's Burden.
Okay, shoot.
He said on that movie, everyone just needs to keep effing everyone else until we're all the same color.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Okay.
Who cares?
You're correct. You're absolutely correct on that one. And that's, look, if the only reason why the government the only reason why the government uses the race as an issue is because, number one, they can, and then number two, we have to be afraid of people because that's the way that they get us to conform. I mean, think about it. After 9/11, we were afraid of airplanes flying and landing in our neighborhoods and killing us all, the nuclear warhead, and now with Iran and all this stuff. I mean, that's how they keep control over us. That's how they, look at the Super Bowl. They were, all the security that they put out in the Super Bowl. Now, of course, they're going to come back and say, well, see, because we thwarted attack. Well, you know what? There probably wasn't.
Look what we did.
Yeah, there probably wasn't one really anyways.
That reminds me of the Stewart from Mad TV. Look what I can do.
Yeah, look what I can. Yeah, exactly. So that's, I don't know. I don't know.
I'll leave you to the rest of the show, and I will listen to it. And I'd like to leave you with one last final question for you to kind of dwell on.
Sure.
The Google barges.
Oh, the Google.
What do you think?
Oh, I think they're offshore data centers. Absolutely. I know what they're talking about, being high end things, but if I was in the business of Google and I'm looking to support data, I think because look at the reason why I think that they're offshore data centers is the fact that they got massive antenna arrays on the top for wireless and everything. And if I was to, if you take the data center and you move it 5 miles off of the coast of the United States, it's no longer under the jurisdiction, so they can store whatever they want to. I'm a firm believer it's data centers.
And they've been experimenting with server cooling through seawater for years. So, Everybody needs to chill out. It might be something normal.
Well, like I said, it is. Until you see it, but don't be surprised. And frankly, who cares? I take the belief that, we know the government's spying on us. We know, I equate it to this way. Dead is dead. How you died to you as an individual is irrelevant. You're still dead. How'd you, and so the thing is the government spying on us. How they're spying on us, what they're doing, they're still spying on us. And they're going to continue to spy on us. So as far as how they do it is irrelevant at this point. They're doing it. If they come and take your phone, if they come and grab your packets of data going across or whatever, they're still doing it, and it's still.
Well, take my phone. All you're going to find is me pissed off at the government and naked pictures of my wife.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah. Hey, let me know what you think.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, my friend, good night. And
good night,
I'm sure
and
we'll
I
talk
will
tomorrow.
listen to the rest of your show. Thank you. I appreciate you indulging me when I call in.
Not a problem. You have a great evening now, my friend.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Bye now. So, going back, and I see that we almost made it through that segment with the left channel intact, but died out again. And, we're going to roll into a break anyways. But, like I said earlier, there's two books. If you're in this, the Patriot movement, there's two books that you have to read. And I've said this time again, obviously, you read Mark's book, The American Exit Strategy, and his new book that just came out. And you can get a American Meltdown. But there's two books that you have to have in your library if you want to read this. And I apologize for being off my game and everything, but I didn't have access. I got to pull up my cue cards here. But one of the things that I want to stress to you is you got to read the Agenda 21. And actually, Joe posted up there at patriotfb.com. So get out there and take a look at it. It's a PDF. You can download it. That's the actual book, but then you can get an actual hard copy book. And there's a lot of, there's one called The Green Monster, that I would recommend if you wanted to do some further reading. But that is how, that's the plan. That's the blueprint for the New World Order in the coming years. And then you need to read Sal Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, because that's how the Democrats are going to implement it. That's how they're going to lie. That's a playbook on everything that they're doing right now. The liberals and the socialists, I want to say socialists and communists, that's how they're going to take over this country, or that's how they are taking over this country. So get out there and read those two books. Highly, highly recommend. I can't stress to you enough how important as a patriot to read those, because you got to understand what they're doing. And when you do read them, your eyes are going to open. You're going to become awoken. You're going to understand, when we talk about TransUnion highways, we're going to talk about healthcare. We're talking about moving people into urban centers. You're going to talk about, we talk about it a lot on this show, Common Core. That's all rooted in Agenda 21. And Agenda 21 came, the whole premise of it was sustainable living, as noble as that is, right? Well, we all live on this planet, and we got to take care of Mother Earth. Right? So who's going to argue with that? Who's going to argue with that statement? We got to take care of the planet in which we live in. The house that you live in, you got to take care of it. There's certain things you have to do, or you're not, your house is going to fall in 100 years. Well, a lot of people have the attitude, well, I'm going to be dead in 100 years, so who cares? But, there's certain things that you have to do. You have to continue for sustainability. Well, who do they turn? They turn to a socialist, and they turn to a eugenicist. They're both eugenicists. They believe that part of the solution to this whole thing is depopulation. They believe that you need to, as they live and they fly around in their private jets and everything and live the lifestyle, the life of Riley, you and I need to live in the urban centers and eat mush. That's what they believe. And by the way, if you're not of the right race, also in their belief system, if you are not of the right race, they don't believe you need to exist. And, that's the part that irritates me. You know, it's like the tide raises all ships. In this thing that we talk about freedom and patriotism and all the things that certain individuals take for granted in this country and sit around and get, we're protecting that with our conversations and our exposure of these issues. We're somewhat protecting your ability to sit at home and watch Oprah Winfrey and get a check. Because I promise you that when the New World Order takes hold, you're not going to get that check anymore. Actually, you're going to be in a camp. Because one of the things about socialism and communism is if you don't produce, you don't get anything. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. Join me on the web at www.patriotfb.com.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
I had PTSD. Once I was back from Iraq, I was distant from everybody in my family. We had a reunion of our unit, and you'd hear these spouses say, "Is your husband doing that? My husband's doing that too. I thought it was just us." And really understanding that, hey, this is a common experience.
I learned more to listen to what he was saying, and that made it easier for me to understand where his pain was coming from.
Resources are available for military families. Learn more at realwarriors.net.
It always catches me right there. But you're listening to Jeff Norton, the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host. Join me on the web at www.patriotfb.com. Love to have you. Hope you join us. Or right here, every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. We are here taking your calls, taking your information and everything. I was out there reading. I just want to, Sean, who is a member there at Patriot FB, he's also a fellow patriot and everything. We all are fellow patriots. Just brought my attention to March on Nashville. March on Nashville. You know, being my hometown, being my home state. March on Nashville, April 10th, 2014. If you're in the Tennessee area, the great state of Tennessee, get down there. Join the march. Be a part of something big. You know, I will tell you, when Nashvillians or Tennesseans march on the state capitol, they don't joke around. It ain't no joke. They're adamant about their freedoms. They're adamant about their religious beliefs. You will not find a greater group or a greater convicted as in, I don't use the word as in criminally convicted, they're in their convictions as the great people in the state of Tennessee. So if you're around April 10th, get down there. Who knows? I might be down there. Might make a little visit to the mom and dad. God willing, they're still alive, still with us. Might be able to see them. So get down there. Visit, great cause if you can't get out to Washington, D.C. You won't have to worry about your safety. Trust me, there will be enough in the crowd to protect everybody. And it's just great conversation. So we, right before we went off the break, we were talking about Agenda 21 and how important that is. Get out the Patriot FB. Joe, our resident librarian / scholar. And you can actually read some of Joe's work over there at Freedom Prepper. I know that he's doing some posts on some other sites. I've seen them. Yes, Joe, I've seen you. You're getting around there, my friend, buddy, and everything. So get out there to freedomprepper.com as well and read some of Joe's. But he put it out there, talking about rules for radicals. He's got a link there. He's also got a link for Agenda 21. And everything, and you can find that at patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com. If you go out to the Midnight Patriot show, he's also got a link there that you can download. I don't know the legality of it. It's up to you. You're all grown people here and everything. I would highly recommend you have a copy, like I have, because you're going to write notes. You're going to want to be able to write notes in it. And everything, and you could actually, I did this for a while, is that when the president was speaking, it got to the point now where it's all pretty much verboten anyways, but when the president was speaking, I would write my notes, and everything that he said was metered to that book. It got to the point to where it wasn't even worth doing anymore. It wasn't even worth the effort because you knew what was coming next. I could have been a speechwriter for the President of the United States. No, I couldn't have. But I could have. No, I couldn't have. But it was just, that's why the man can't speak without a teleprompter. And when he does speak without a teleprompter, he just goes on and on and on. And that tells you that the thought process isn't there. Really. To be honest with you, that's one of the first lessons in public speaking, is especially for a lawyer, which is crazy. That his training, obviously, being a lawyer, must have not tried that many cases. Because one of the things they tell you is, answer the question or make your statement and get done. But when you hear this president ad-lib, JJ's got a great clip of him trying to ad-lib and telling kids that they're on breathalyzers, and it's just crazy. You got to listen to the JJ McCarty show in the afternoon right here at patriotfb.com from 2 until 4. But when you listen, he's got a great clip of the president, and he didn't edit that. That was actually how he spoke. The guy it's just incredible how inept he was and able to communicate. Now, I get my tongue tied. Don't get me wrong, but he sounded like a drunken sailor. He really did, and it was because this is when his teleprompter was not working. So it wasn't an issue of him just trying to ad-lib. Well, it was an issue of him trying to ad-lib, but it wasn't set up that way. He originally had a teleprompter that was going to tell him what to speak, but when he had to go out there and actually speak his words with his own thoughts and everything, he just couldn't do it. And it's just an incredible clip for you guys to take a listen to. And draw your own conclusions. It's things like that made me. There's a lot of things. So, getting to the news. When we get back from this break, once again, we're going to kick into another break here. When we get back to the break, I want to talk about the Dow. Sinks 300 plus points. Oh, where's the humanity? Of course, we've been talking about this from day one. We've been talking about if you've got money in the markets, you're a fool. And we're going to go into that a little bit more. We got some economic experts. We're going to play some clips from, Hillary Clinton starting to drive up her campaign, making the Dems a little bit nervous. Is she going to make a split from the party? I don't know. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host. Join me on the web at www.patriotfb.com.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
I'm Eric Kipple, 10-year veteran of the NFL. And I'm Captain Mark McNeil, 16-year veteran of the Army National Guard. Whether on the playing field or the battlefield, you must be both physically and mentally fit.
If you're injured, you owe it to yourself and your teammates to get back to peak performance. It doesn't matter if you've got a broken bone, depression, a traumatic brain injury, PTSD, or another psychological wound.
Getting help shows strength, not weakness.
To find out more, go to realwarriors.net or call 866-966-1020.
That's right. I'm feeling like TNT. I'm going to blow this bridge up and all the trolls under it and stuff. I think we got it under control. I was expecting some attacks tonight. Come on, guys. Come on. I'm baiting you. That's right. I'm baiting you. Come on. Bring it on. What a evening. Right before we went on to the break, we were talking about the Dow. And let me kind of tell you, give you a little bit of insight. So, for those that don't know, U.S. stock unravels after factory report. Dow sinks 300 plus points. I mean, what'd you expect? Here's the audio.
Art, what do you make of how the market's responding here as we head toward the close here?
Well, I think the key indicator I'm looking at is the yield on the 10-year.
Right.
And that's telling me that this is more than weather-related, that there are deeper portions to what's disturbing the market. And I think it may be things like continuing in the emerging markets and the fact that maybe some of the temporary weakness is not weather-related. So I'm going to keep following that yield. It's going to be critical.
But we saw a new wrinkle today, Art. I mean, in addition to concerns about emerging market, that ISM number, notably weaker than expected, has raised some concerns about whether the U.S. economy might be a little bit weaker, maybe perhaps including the consumer. We saw Ford's numbers, generally a little bit disappointing. Now, they don't seem very worried. The Ford executives said, we don't think that this is a big issue. We think it's probably weather-related. But obviously, the market is not entirely buying that argument.
No, the market's, I think, divided into three influences. One, the weak economic data that you got in the ISM. Second, the internal technicals. When we broke 1770, we began to spiral downwards. So that's important. And again, finally, harking back, that yield on the 10-year is not behaving as though everything's copacetic. It looks like there may be something out there that maybe we don't even see quite yet.
But Arthur, we've talked, I mean, I'll bring this up to you as I've done in the past hour to our past guests. We've talked ad nauseum for the last several months about the lack of a 10% correction or pullback in this market that was maybe needed, I mean, to weed out the weak hands in this market. Now we're getting it, but we're wringing our hands at the same time.
Well, I think you're getting it, but the reason I'm wringing my hands, or at least wrenching my brain, is that a good broker is a good detective. You look at all the various things and see if they match. Should gold be doing what it's doing if this? Should the yield on the 10-year be doing that if this? And that tells me that there's something slightly untoward out there, or at least it appears to be. So I'm going to keep my eye open. I'm happy to take the correction, but I'm not washing my hands of it.
In other words, they're running for cover too much in the bond market for your taste right now.
Well, yeah, they're telling me that there's something here that's not weather-related and perhaps more serious.
And Bill, you were talking about complacency. I see a lot of concern here. The volumes in the big ETFs were titanic today. Obviously, some people are concerned. The VIX over 21, that's the highest level since June. I don't think that's a sign of necessarily complacency. I think there's some signs of growing.
And you're going to have high volume in equities today. It's going to be another distribution day.
We'll do north of 4 billion shares today. It's a big volume day.
There you go. It's starting to unravel. Now, there was a couple of terms. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of insight. You know, some of there are technical traders out there. And what the technical traders do is that there's certain things, regardless of what the market's doing, they do when they see these technical indicators, they're going to jump. They're going to pounce, and they're either going to get in or get out. And there's this thing called resistance and support. And what they do, and I've actually, had the luxury of spending some time with a market wizard. Literally, this guy is a futures trader out in Asheville, North Carolina. Spent about a week with him understanding how the markets work, and from him, and have some of his books. Actually, he's given me a lot of his copies of his notes. And I'm not a trader. I'm not a trader in most ways than one. But I'm not a stock trader. I actually, I got friends who are, and I kind of stay out of it. That's why they come to me sometimes with advice, because I'm partial in the sense that I don't have skin in the game. I can look at something objectively, run the numbers, do the math. So, when I had an opportunity to go out to Asheville, North Carolina, and sit with this wizard and stuff, I learned he was a huge technical trader. And technical traders, like I said, they look at lines and on a chart, and they mean something. Head and shoulder, believe it or not, there's they call it the head and shoulders, the reverse. There's different things on a chart that historically, that when you see things happen, they line up. As you heard the gentleman there from CNBC saying, there were some things out of whack. Because you expect that when this happens, you're going to see a 10-year treasury, you're going to see gold doing, and that's not going on. They didn't see that. So they're concerned because the market's not behaving. See, one of the things that they've always tried to build, the markets for the most part are what they call efficient. In other words, they're going to act a certain way based upon their efficiency. And where you make money in the market now, where the big guys make money, of course, like gambling, you make money, by being on the right side of the trade. But where the big boys are making the money is this thing called arbitrage. And what they're doing is that they're getting in front or just behind a trade, or typically in front, and they're making pennies, but they're trading such large volumes that they're making millions. And so as a technical trader, one of the things you look at is this thing called support and resistance. All right, so let me tell you what support is. So if you take a line on a piece of paper and you draw that out. So if you take a stock chart, I'm going to show you guys how to do this. You take a stock chart and you know how it goes up and down and everything. You take the bottom, the bottoms of the close, or the bottoms, not necessarily the close, but the bottoms of the chart. And you draw a line across, you line those up and you draw a line across them. That's your support line. And what that support line is basically when it breaks through that, because the market's going to move up and down. It's called whipsawing. Intentionally, what they do is that's an intentional movement. What that does is, in order for you to make money, someone's got to lose money. Believe it or not, someone's selling, someone's buying. So someone's selling at a lower price, you're hopefully buying at the lower price, you sell high. That's how you make money. Or you can short it, but that's another technical term, or another technical that we're going to talk about. I just went to the left. I'm actually on the, what's really cool? At least I'm talking to you guys on the right side of the speaker, not on the left. I'm talking to you from the right and stuff. So you draw that line, and that's your support line. So when a index or a stock goes below that, it's going to go in a free fall. These are things that happen in the stock market that you just happen. They just happen. Stocks always, I'll tell you this, stocks always cover their gap. So if there's a gap on the open, it's always going to cover that gap. In the history of stock, there's no stock, unless the company goes out of business, that gaps on the open, or that gaps, and that means that it closed at one price, opened at a much lower or higher, it's always going to cover that gap. That's just a technical that's always going to happen. The second part is when it breaks through the support line, it's going to continue till it hits the next support. It's kind of like, think about it, supporting, it's holding that stock up. These are technicals. Now resistance. Resistance is just the opposite. If you draw a line through the top, when the stock starts getting up to that, you're going to start getting resistance. There's people, and the reason why, it's a natural tendency. People start taking money off the table. They made money. So there's a resistance. But if the stock breaks through that resistance, boom, that resistance now becomes the support line, and the stock keeps going up. See how that works? So there's these technical trading ideas or concepts, and I just showed you how they work. And like I said, I'm not I've written software applications for guys. That's the other reason why they come to me to write some of these applications, because they know I'm not going to trade them. I'm not a stock guy. I love it from a technical, but I'm not a gambler in that regard. I'm a gambler because I like business and I like starting business, but I don't gamble that, because the thing is too, I've also realized I've seen a lot of my good friends get wiped out. I'm talking, as a caller earlier was talking about, been on the highs and the lows. Yes, Jeff Norton has done the couch tour, where I've lived with my friends and lived on couches. And Jeff Norton has been in Lear jets and been at Fisher Island down in Miami and Star Island in Miami and been all over. I've even, pilot's license, flown jets, CJ5s. So I've been at both ends of the thing, and I'll tell you, and I've seen people just ruined by the market, and so I stay away from it. I'm more about the knowledge and learning how it works than I am about actual getting into it, because I know enough about it to know it's manipulated too. I've seen enough of the inside stuff. So what we're going to do is we'll take a break. We'll come back, kind of wrap up this hour, this segment, take your call. But Dow sinks below 300 plus. There's some issues going on there, issues you need to be aware of, because there's indicators they're out of whack. They're not working. The market is not efficient. And when the market's not efficient, that means there's manipulation going on, number one. And it
advertised to thousands of fellow patriots.
I'm going to put a stop to that. But not only is there manipulation, but there's issues going on. Actually, we'll just blow through this segment so I can just talk to you, and we'll just go ahead and come back when we're ready to come back from our news break. But there's issues going on. That's the part that you didn't, if you heard it there in that last segment, these traders. By the way, very technical traders are telling you the market's not efficient. It's not acting. Their indicators don't match up. Don't match up. And that's an issue. Now, the other, that's the technical trading side. There's the other side of the trading, which is voodoo, witchcraft, and all that stuff. And we won't get into, that's the one that sunk the Black-Scholes model, which a lot of you guys can Google it up. Then take in the account of the emotion of the market. There's an emotion that's tied to the market, supply and demand. Think about it. A commodity, a stock, is its price is set by supply and demand. And that is, now, of course, you can look at technicals to get that information, but a lot of that's emotion. Think about it. You have a friend who comes and tells you that, Coca-Cola is, their commercial took a hit because of emotion. A lot of people didn't like their commercial. McDonald's is taking a hit because a lot of people don't like their food. Or something, or there's issues like that. There's issues, of you have a major recall, things that you can't predict. That's the other side of it. Now, of course, those follow the technicals as well, but to be in front of those types of trading platforms, there's a lot of science. There's, like I said, there's a ton of money being spent on Wall Street right now for mathematicians. I know guys that are very, 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 very wealthy out of Northwestern, mathematicians. And all they do is write mathematical formulas to try to predict. They use, geobots, which, they're looking at, news articles. And it's just unbelievable, the technology that these guys are employing for predictive analysis. A lot of this technology ends up in the hands of the military, believe it or not, government. Because if you can predict, future trends, think about it. You can probably predict combat moves. You can predict, where that tank's going to go. You can predict a lot of things. Maybe the next attack. I don't know. But it's a huge, huge industry. Game theory. Go to college, you learn game theory. And once you learn game theory, you're going to learn to stay the heck out of casinos. And you're going to learn to stay the heck out of the stock market. No, you can, like I said, you can make money in the market as long as you stay your technicals. But it's consuming, and as many people have made money, people have gotten wiped out as well. So we're going to be watching the markets. Could be the beginning, the signaling of the end. Could be. If enough of those people those shadows banks that were created to pump money into the market start to decide to take their money out, you're going to see a massive crash because you and I aren't in the market. We're not in the market anymore. The days of the 90s and stuff are over, the 80s and the 90s. This is all shadow banking that's in the market. And when they take their money out, they're not taking out a few $1,000s. They're taking out millions, hundreds of millions of dollars at one time. So we'll see. This could be the end. One of the other topics that, I want to talk about, Hillary Clinton, she's gearing it up, and she's starting to drive the Democratic National Committee. The Clintons are starting to drive them a little crazy. It's that whole mentality of we're going to do whatever it takes to get elected. They're going to do it with or without the Dems. Now I'll tell you, Barack, and I think that's coming from the fact that, President Barack Obama is a darling of the Dems. They love him. Hillary is too. But she's not going to go along with the Democratic National Committee. She's going to do whatever she's got to do to get elected. So we'll take our break when we get back.
You are listening
Talk about
to PatriotFB.com.
From Washington, this is VOA News. South Sudan's former vice president forms a resistance group to influence government policy. A priest reports new sectarian violence in Central African Republic. I'm Victor Beatty reporting from Washington. South Sudan's former vice president Riek Machar says he's formed a resistance group that will fight the government to ensure democracy and good governance. Juba had accused Mr. Machar of leading a coup attempt in December that set off weeks of deadly fighting. In a phone interview Monday with VOA's South Sudan In Focus program, Mr. Machar confirmed he's opposed to the government of President Salva Kiir.
We decided to organize a resistance against the regime. So yes, if you heard troops in Upper Nile, in Jonglei, in Unity State, in Equatoria, saying what I am saying, yes, we're now an organized resistance against the regime.
Mr. Machar said his group wants to see democracy, pluralism, free elections, and good governance take hold in the country. Thousands are believed to have died. More than 500,000 have been driven from their homes by fighting in South Sudan. More peace talks are scheduled to begin February 7th. A priest in Central African Republic says at least 75 people have been killed in a new bout of interreligious violence. The Reverend Cassian Kamatari says the killings occurred over the past 6 days in Boda, about 100 kilometers west of the capital Bangui, after former Seleka rebels stopped in the town. In a VOA interview, he said that before leaving last Tuesday, the fighters closed off the town's main road and gave weapons to the local Muslim population. Beginning late Tuesday, he says people heard gunshots. He said the town is short of food and water and appealed for international forces to intervene. The CAR is grappling with a wave of sectarian violence that has displaced more than 800,000.
L'évaluation de la situation est que nous sommes sur une pente positive.
French Admiral Edward Guillaume says his evaluation is that international intervention forces are on a positive streak. The conflict is not over, he says. We haven't won yet, but we are in the process of getting back security in Bangui. Some 1,600 French and 5,000 African peacekeepers have been unable to halt fighting so far. The country descended into lawlessness last year after the mainly Muslim Seleka rebels overthrew President Francois Bozizé. Executors of Nelson Mandela's will say he left an estate in excess of $4 million, with the money going to family, staff members, schools he attended, and South Africa's ruling party. One of the executors, South Africa's Deputy Chief Justice, Dick Gong Moseneke, summarized the will for reporters Monday in Johannesburg after the contents were read for Mr. Mandela's family.
The law requires of us to file a provisional inventory. And the reason for this is fairly plain. Trust executors come cold to the work, and they often don't know what assets the deceased would have. So in the process of collating these, we have filed a provisional inventory, and it reflects a provisional balance, which is in the order of about 46 million. Contest, I'm not aware of any contest of any type. The will has been duly lodged and has been accepted and registered as such.
A large amount of money will go to a trust for children, grandchildren, and other relatives from each of Mr. Mandela's 3 marriages. Sums of some $4,500 were left for certain staff members, including his secretary. He left about $9,000 to each school he attended, plus 2 schools in areas where he lived. The anti-apartheid leader and former South African president died December 5 at age 95. The UN Security Council met Monday with representatives of the armed Tuareg groups active in northern Mali as part of an effort to accelerate peace talks with Bamako. Tuareg rebels launched a rebellion in northern Mali in early 2012 that gave way to a military coup. Al-Qaeda-linked Islamist extremists moved in and took over the north, prompting an intervention by French troops in early 2013. Libya's Prime Minister Ali Zidane Monday ordered the army to lift a blockade imposed by protesters at the country's main oil terminals in the east. For months, security guards, many of them former militia members, blocked oil exports, hitting government revenues hard, demanding a restoration of autonomy granted back in 1951. They also demand a more equitable share of oil revenues. President Obama Monday invited Tunisia's new Prime Minister, Mehdi Joma, to visit the White House after a new government in Tunis was formed, replacing the ruling Islamist party. Mr. Obama congratulated the Prime Minister by phone on adoption of Tunisia's new constitution, considered one of the most progressive in the Arab world. I'm Victor Beattie, VOA News. More can be found at our internet website,
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show right here at patriotfb.com. That's www.patriotfb.com.
That's why they call me bad company, and I can't deny bad company till the day I die. Till the day I die. Till the day I die. Rebel souls, deserters we are called. Chose a gun and threw away the sword. Now these towns, they all know our name. Six gun sound is our claim to fame. I can hear them say, bad company, and I won't deny.
Bad company. I mean, they're all bad companies, right? That's what the liberals would want us to think. You know, how dare you make money? How dare you have profits? How dare you pay your shareholders, the ones that paid money in so you could be where you're at today? How dare you? They don't understand the concept of you know, commercialism. They don't get it. Capitalism. You know, because, you know, their source of income does not come from the fruits of their labor. It comes from the extraction from the rest of us. It's exactly what it's exactly where it comes from. So they've never had to really to earn a living doing something productive, creating something. You know, they're think about it. Most politicians come from the service industry. Think about that. And when I say service, they're professional. They're lawyers. You know, they're lawyers. They make their income based upon the trials and tribulations of others, right? You know, it's kind of self-fulfilling. Think about it. You go to court because of some law that was created by some politician, that was enacted by some lawyer. You know, that's how they make their money. That's how they you know, that's how they do it. They don't actually make money making things. Tell me one lawyer who's actually made something except for misery. Name one. They don't make anything. They don't. Now, you know, you have doctors, you have other professions that are in there. I have to say that doctors, they do, you know. But once again, you know, I'm going to leave doctors alone. I'm not going to pick on doctors. I'll go after lawyers all day long. I'm not going to pick on doctors. But think about that. everybody in Washington, if they're a lawyer, you got Senator Frist and, a few who are doctors. Rand Paul. Rand, I think, was a dentist. Yeah, I think he was also a dentist. The rest of them, they really didn't make anything. They've never created anything. Their income came from the pain and suffrage of others. Think about that. They didn't make a widget. They didn't go out and sell it, and thus they got income from that. What they did is they either sued or protected someone who did make something. So it's only natural that they don't have a concept of what it takes to make something. They talk about it all day long, but they really don't have a concept of that. No, of course they had bills that they had to pay. They had to pay for their BMW, their Mercedes, and their big house, and their trophy wife or husband. So they had the same financial pressures as we have, but they have no concept. Let's talk about this early Clinton drive unsettles Democrats. She's starting to gear up. She was starting to gear it up. We knew that. I mean, come on. Wait, she's going to come back and she's going to, look, the Clintons, they rule by poll. So what they're going to do, let me tell you their game plan. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Hillary Clinton is going to throw Barack Hussein Obama off the edge. She is. It's coming. That's why they're distancing themselves from the DNC. That's why the DNC is a little nervous, because she can go without them. She can. She doesn't need the DNC. She doesn't need to pander to that vote. She's going to get it. She already knows that. She already knows that. And so what you're going to see is you're going to see her throw Obama under the bus so she can pander to those that are critical of him. That's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to see her, talk about how Benghazi was because of lack of funding. We're already hearing it. You're going to hear her talk about how Benghazi, the president knew about it. You're going to hear her talk about how the Obamacare is not working, but she has a better plan. Now remember her plan. One payer, national health. And like I said, when people are starving, they'll eat sand. What was that Michael Douglas? That Michael Douglas line when he was the president about eating sand. So this is where I need a Snively. So you get all this. So we can get all of this. All this queued up, and all I have to do is push a button as I'm sitting here and here you go.
We lost Quincy, too. You give a reason?
Yeah, he thinks your numbers aren't likely to rebound.
I don't think there'll be a better opportunity.
The press is expecting an announcement.
Wagner!
No.
Sobel!
No.
You meant hit, didn't you, sir? You meant the important legislation deserves every opportunity.
Louis, shut up.
You have something to say to me, Louis? Respectfully, sir? I think we should examine the new poll for something more than its value.
Examine what? They don't like that I'm going out with Sydney.
It's not that simple. I think that this poll brings a murky problem into specific relief.
Whose problem we talking about, Lewis? Yours? You worried about losing your job? Because this poll isn't talking about my presidency. This poll is talking about my life. 264 million
264 million people don't give a damn about your life. They give a damn about their own.
All right, that's enough.
Mr. President, you raised a daughter almost entirely on your own. And she's terrific. So what does it say to you that in the past 7 weeks, 59% of this country has begun to question your family values?
The president doesn't answer to you, Lewis.
Oh, yes, he does, AJ. I'm a citizen. This is my president. And in this country, it is not only permissible to question our leaders, it's our responsibility. But you already know that, don't you, Mr. President? Because you have a deeper love of this country than any man I've ever known. And I want to know what it says to you that in the past 7 weeks, 59% of Americans have begun to question your patriotism.
Look, if people want to listen to...
They don't have a choice! Bob Rumson is the only one doing the talking. People want leadership, Mr. President. In the absence of genuine leadership, they'll listen to anyone who steps up to the microphone. They want leadership. They're so thirsty for it, they'll crawl through the desert toward a mirage, and when they discover there's no water, they'll drink the sand.
Lewis, we have had presidents who were beloved, who couldn't find a coherent sentence with two hands and a flashlight. People don't drink the sand because they're thirsty. They drink the sand because they don't know the difference.
They drink the sand because they don't know the difference. And that's what we're facing here in this country. From American president, Michael Douglas. But that's what we become. We don't know the difference. That's what this show's all about. To help you weed through the muck and the mire. To have a conversation. If you'd like to join us, give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Love to talk to you as we roll into the evening, third hour. But that's what you're going to see. You're going to see this next election cycle because people don't know the difference. And they know that. The Clintons are masterful. That movie was made about the Clintons and how they work on polls. And it's amazing that people are going to forget their personal lives. But that's just the way, that's politics. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. When we get back, we're going to talk about students sign a petition to have gun owners executed.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
When I woke up this morning, had a smile across my face. My baby from town tells I had to get down. Come and drag me all over the place. Got a job.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. That is www.patriotfb.com. That is ZZ Top with Down Brownie. I haven't heard that one in a while. Wow, that was incredible. Hey, it just got like 20 or 30 new CDs today. ZZ Top was in that group. Yeah. For you guys that are sending me your CDs, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. We're bringing you some great programming here at the Patriot Radio, patriotfb.com/radio. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Send me an email, jeff@themidnightpatriot.com. We will send you a packing slip, or we'll also pay for the shipping to us. The sippage. Talk about sippage. Let me take a sip here. Got to have a little bit of coffee. You know, I need a coffee warmer. You know, not one of those old fancy Keurig things where you push it. Remember you used to make coffee? The best coffee in the world. I don't care what they say. When I was growing up, I wish I was older, too, because I never really got to partake, because I was still a young boy, I should say. But my grandparents at their cabin had the old percolators. You know, when you plug it in, it goes and that smell, you know, would permeate the cabin and everything. Now, of course, I was too young. I wasn't allowed to drink coffee. You know, I want one of those. I got to find one. Got to find me a percolator coffee maker. That way I can plug it in here in the studio and spill it all over the place and destroy something really important or really expensive. But, you know, my coffee's getting cold. No, we were out looking, this weekend. They had the Keurig and all that stuff. I'm like, that's fancy. Give me the old freaking, just diet, coffee grounds. Give me Senka. Give me Senka. I'll drink Senka before I drink one of those Keurig. I'll tell you, I drank a Keurig. That's too fancy for me. It really is. Next thing you know, I'll be putting on a suit and tie, going back to work. So, like I said, this kind of goes hand in hand with our earlier conversation about trolls. Believe it or not, there are some people. Now, I will tell you this. I don't like the liberals. I don't like them. I don't like their mentality. I just don't like the fact. I just don't like them. I'll carry on a great conversation with them. I don't have a problem. I'm not going to, call for their annihilation, their destruction. I'm not going to wish ill will. The world, would be a boring place if everybody thought the same. I'd be the first one to tell you that. I'm all about communication. And if you'd like to join the call or join the show, give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. Love to hear from you. But this is scary. Well, it's not scary. It's not surprising either. Now, for you guys that don't know, Mark Dice does these bits, and I love them. And, he goes out in the street, and I'm going to cue it up. I'm not going to play the full bit here, but I'm going to play it so you guys can hear this. But this is the mentality of some of these individuals. They're either completely brain dead and they have no clue and they'll just sign anything, which there are some out there that are like that. That's that 14%, right? That's Stone Anthony, which, by the way, Stone Anthony will be joining us tomorrow, hopefully. We had some hiccups. We actually were attacked last week, so had to deal with that. So we missed last week. So hopefully we'll get him back on the show tomorrow. I do apologize. Tonight's show, actually, Tim, Munitions Monday, we kind of pushed that off. Tim has got other engagements that he's taking care of and stuff, and because of the issues that we had over this weekend, we could not pre-record the show. Once again, these trolls who think that it's no big deal, it's funny. They don't realize they affect people's lives. They really do. Not only the damage that they do to the servers and stuff, but they affect people's lives. There's things that were planned to get done this weekend that could not get done. But of course, it's harmless, no big deal. Well, they're going to think harmless when they get the letters from their ISPs. Because we're going to push the issue. We're going to post their IPs, and we're going to post how you can find out how to search. And then you guys can write letters to the ISPs and tell them that you don't appreciate it. The fact that they, brought down a community website and everything. But, the world's made full of, unfortunately, the world's full of a-holes as well. So, but here you go, Mark Dice, talking to college students, talking to, about executing us, Second Amendment. Got to listen to this. Very disturbing. Oh, this is the future of America, by the way. I just want to add that. Or the liberals' future of America, what they have planned for us.
We hope to repeal the Second Amendment and keep guns off the campus and keep everybody safe. We just want to make sure that we support Obama and the Bilderberg Group and just disarm the citizens. We could trust the government to be the only ones with guns. Yeah, birth date and a signature to repeal the Second Amendment. These peasants don't need guns, so thanks for supporting that. I appreciate that. Thanks for your help. We're trying to repeal the Second Amendment and put all gun owners in prison. The registered gun owners, put them in prison. Thank you for supporting that.
Thank you. I think it's too dangerous.
It's too dangerous. They don't need these guns anymore. Only the police need the guns, right?
Yeah, right.
We could trust them. Have a good day. Thank you. It's just a simple repeal of the Second Amendment, and we'll be terminating and executing all of the gun owners. Thank you. We're going to be executing. Hey, we support, come on real quick, support Obama. Come on, support Obama's gun control bill.
You want to ban the gun?
Yes, we're going to ban all guns except for the military and the police.
Okay.
Yeah, sign right here. Yeah. Quite frankly, we just want to ban all the guns except for the ones that the military and the police have. We'll do some door-to-door.
All right. I have to stop there because you know how this is like 10 minutes of this. I mean, it's depressing, but you know how it goes. Mark Dice is awesome. Go out to join him at facebook.com/dice. But it's so true. I've never called for the execution of anybody that doesn't believe in the way I believe. I just, don't like them. They ain't going to go eat dinner. Well, I'll probably eat dinner with them. I got a lot of friends who are liberal. I find it for, very challenging intellectual conversation. And, it's fun. It's fun. And you know what? I can tell you, I have some college professor buddies of mine, very liberal in their stance, but as we talk and stuff, they actually say, well, you're not a conservative. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course I'm not. I'm a libertarian. I'm a left-leaning libertarian. I do lean a little bit, obviously the Constitution, not a little bit. I mean, I'm huge on the Constitution, but I also believe that we have a certain responsibility to take care of those that can't take care of themselves. That doesn't mean give out handouts, though, to everybody. I'm talking about the indigent, the elderly, the children, and, and that, I believe in social programs, but I also believe that when a society as a whole is not being raped and pillaged by the government, it frees up more resources. Now, you're going to find, this is the misconception of the liberals. And this is a fundamental flaw that they have. Because if you look at most charitable giving, if you eliminate the tax breaks and all of the, all of the reasons why people give, but if I'm talking about just giving money to someone, you'll find that most of the liberals, a lot of the Republicans won't do it. The reason why they do it is either A, they want to look good. If you look at the news, look at the news. Well, how much money did he give? He only gave 11% of his wealth. Well, he gave $100 million. How much money did you give, Mr. President? Well, I gave 32% of my wealth. Well, but Mr. President, that was only $3,200. Or whatever. I'm just making those numbers up. See how they play the games. How much money did you give? Well, I actually gave a lot more than that, Mr. President, because I built a corporation. I built a lot of corporations. I kept a lot of people in work. What did you do? Well, I took a lot of the taxpayer money and subsidized big motors and everything and kept a lot of people on work for 4 more years, but then they got laid off as their jobs went overseas. See how that works? See the mindset? You know, it's amazing. It's amazing, this mindset. You know, but like I said, you take away all of the reasons to give, and you're going to find that most patriots, most people that I know, give because they give when they ain't got it. They still give because that's the Christian thing to do. When they go to church and they give money to the church, you know, they expect it not only to go to church, but to pay for some of the programs. They see that. You know, see that many liberals in church these days. You know, I don't know what church they go to. I don't know if the president even goes to church. I haven't heard about him going to church in quite a while. I don't know. Maybe, you know, educate me. Maybe one of the trolls out there that are listening, you know, can get up. Maybe that can be the topic you can flame our site with. As I bait you. Man, it's amazing how quick the night is going by. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. You know, I want to talk about, you know, as we roll into the evening and we start wrapping up the night, I do want to talk about, you know, and all the heating issues you hear about natural gas and the shortages and the cost and everything of heating. Stick it to Congress. They want to put more taxes on you, you know, because they don't think you're poor enough. They don't think, you know, especially on your heating bill. So when we get back from the break, we'll talk about that, kind of wrap up, do our honor of the fallen, and kind of roll on into the evening. You're listening to Jeff Norton of the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
I had PTSD. Once I was back from Iraq, I was distant from everybody in my family. We had a reunion of our unit, and you'd hear these spouses say, "Is your husband doing that? My husband's doing that too. I thought it was just us." And really understanding that, hey, this is a common experience.
I learned more to listen to what he was saying, and that made it easier for me to understand where his pain was coming from.
Warriors should know that resources are available. Learn more at realwarriors.net.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. Join me here live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. Love to hear from you. You know, one of the things that we talked about this early on and talked about our goals here for Patriot FB. Obviously, we want to make it the go-to site. And I've talked to other Patriot website owners over the weekend, especially with trolls, and they, you know, giving advice and helping and everything, and I appreciate that. I really do. And, you know, Tea Party Conservative, there's a lot of different websites, Tim, you know, like ourselves. And I just want to make this perfectly clear. Our goal here is to spread the word of you know, conservatism, libertarianism, open dialogue and communication. Now, Patriot FB might not be a site for you. And, I highly recommend, though, if you're more of a Tea Party person, go over there. Take a look at their site. It's very similar to ours. Actually, originally the same. We bought the source code from the same company. Our goal here is that, give you a place to come. And, sometimes we might not be the fit for you. And I highly recommend, but you got to stay, by no stretch of the means that we want you to give up. No stretch of the means. This is not a business for us. This is not a revenue generator. I will tell you that flat out. We don't make money doing this. It's not our intentions. We're not trying to get rich. We're trying to get the message out there. We are, patriotic American patriots. Patriotic, say that a couple times fast, who want to do and get the message out there. And we're using Patriot FB to actually promote the radio shows and the podcasts and all of that. Get that medium out there and everything. But I just want to reach out and say, Tim, personally, I just want to say thank you for your help over the weekend. Some of your suggestions and everything, very valuable. And in return, go out to Tea Party Conservatives and take a look. I think I got that right. I hope I got that right. If I don't, I will correct it tomorrow and repost it and everything. Get out there. It's all about helping each other. It's all about we're a community. We can't turn on each other. That's what they want us to do. They want to keep us fighting with each other. But fundamentally, we all agree this country is broken. And we need to fix it. And we need to fix it fast. And the liberals and their socialist, their socialist communistic ways are not the way that we want to fix it. Because there is no model in which communism and socialism actually work. None whatsoever. Now, a lot of you argue that capitalism doesn't work either. Well, I agree with you to a point in the form of capitalism that we have now. I disagree with the type of, we need to get back to a fundamental, set of capitalism, but that's not manipulated through political gain. Where when a corporation fails or does something, that the politicians don't bail it out because they need that money in return for their campaigns. I don't want to be a slave to the corporations, and I don't want to be a slave to the government. I want to be a free man. That's what I want. So, I just want to kind of, we're all in this together. This is a fight, and we all need each other. We all need each other. It's all about righting this ship. And however we need to ride it, we need to ride it quick. We need to get back on its keel. And that's going to start by us banding together, not fighting with each other. I'll tell you, I'll take any GOPer over any liberal any day. But I still think they're a slave to the corporations. Still a slave. But it's a start. Because I don't want to be a socialist, and I'm definitely not a communist. I'm a study of history. I know where that leads. But as we wind into the evening, one of the things, too, is I can tell you I don't like this number 22. 22, you might ask, is, why 22? What do you have against 22, Jeff? Well, it's an appalling number to me. Also, 354 is also an appalling number. And what I mean by that is that there's 22 American men and women service members who have committed suicide in the United States today alone. That's 22 too many. 22 a month, 22 day, whatever. That's 22 too many. And the other number that I don't like is this number of 354. Why is that number appalling to me? Because that is on average the amount of days that a service member has to wait in order to get the service, the benefits that they deserve, that they've earned. There are still Vietnam veterans fighting for their rights. That's appalling. That's appalling. And, and we talk about this, what's even more disturbing is the fact that because of some mistake, not a mistake, but by some choice that I have made, or that an individual has made, not me, but because of some individual has made, they can go into the social service office and within 30 days get house, food, thanks to Obamacare free health care. Where the men and women who have served this country have to wait on average 354 days before they get the benefits that they have earned. And because of that, a lot of these men and women are falling through the cracks, and they choose to give up. They choose no longer to stay in the fight. Now, I'm not saying that we can eliminate all those numbers, but I'm saying that we can make a huge dent in them. And that's why I ask that you go out to Freedom Prepper. I know that he was running the shirt, and I'm very disappointed in the fact that the shirts weren't all sold out. But we'll get it. I know Scott, we're not going to give up. I know that he's going to get them. We're going to get them. That means that, we have to raise money, buy them, and then sell them individually, and that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll take up a small donation so we can buy a large quantity. Have them mass produced, kind of keep the cost down a little bit. And then we'll take the proceeds, the profits from those, and turn around and sell them. I don't know. We'll work something out, but we'll get them up there. We're going to get these shirts sold. I'm sure with Stone Anthony, we'll get some backing. We'll get some patriots out there, and we'll get these shirts sold. But 22. I just want to tell the men and women, the service members that are out there, we have your back. And I know the movie stars, they do their thing. I saw that. That was pretty cool. And so, but we as American patriots, I'm not a movie star. I'm not obviously I'm not a country music singer or whatever. I'm you. I'm a fellow American citizen, die in the wool, just walking on the street, American citizen, and I got your back. And I even want to stress this to our listeners. If you see a service member in uniform out on the street and stuff, go up to them, look them square in the eye, shake their hand, and let them know that you appreciate the service to their country and also to your family. If you are so compelled and you are in a position to do this, if you're out eating lunch or dinner or whatever, buy their dinner. Buy their dinner. Let them know, you might be the only person in the whole year, the whole lifetime that they've ever been a service member, and you do that for them, and you might just change. Because you got to remember, this question that's will the United States military turn on its citizens? And it's coming, and they're going to be asked to do that. You don't know. You might have made the difference. You might have made the difference. So I'm just saying, do that. But do that, too, because you respect and you honor the sacrifices that they've made. Being an American soldier is not easy. Most of the guys and gals, when they come out of the service, are broke. Broke financially, but also broke physically. They need the care. I mean, you don't understand the stresses of serving, mental and also physical. Just unbearable. Most of us would never be able to do it. Most of us wouldn't. So, you got to understand the sacrifices on the family. Think about being away from your children, your life. Think about taking the years of your youth and spending that away. Think about those sacrifices. Away from your children, away from your life, your loved ones. And on top of that, not knowing if you're ever going to come home. Think about the families, the sacrifice, knowing that they don't know if their mother or father or husband, wife, or are going to come home. Think about that. Just step out of your world long enough, detach yourself from your issues, and put yourself in a soldier's boots. And think about that. It's a huge sacrifice. And all we ask is that you remember them. All we ask, too, is that you go out, you find a soldier who has paid the ultimate price in your community. You write their name down. And every day of your being, you say their name. Say it silently, say it aloud. I don't care what you do, but say their name. Take it one step further, say all their names. It's not that hard to do. I do it every night, do it every day. Say their names. Let them know silently, because trust me, those soldiers hear that as they sit with God in heaven. They hear that. So do that. If you take up any fight, do that. And with that, we'll pay honor to the ones that have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Army Chief, Warrant Officer 2nd, Edward Bawley, January 20th, 2014. Army Specialist Andrew H. Sipple, January 17th, 2014. Army Sergeant Daniel T. Lee, January 15th, 2014. Army Chief Warrant Officer Andrew L. McAdams, January 10th, 2014. Army Sergeant Drew M. Scobie, January 10th, 2014. Army Sergeant First Class William K. Lacey, January 4th, 2014. And Marine Sergeant Jacob M. Hess, January 1st, 2014.
Just for 1 second, put yourself in their boots. Turn your back on everything you know right now. With the whole world to lose, you got no dinner with the family. You got no home, no luxury car. Just a welcome to the battlefield, 'cause it's time to go to war. Because they do it for me and they do it for you. In the red, white, and blue. Amen to the ones on the battlefield. Amen to those who
That was Madison Rising. Get out to their website, madisonrising.com. That is madisonrising.com. You know, a lot of you guys have asked why we don't play their bumper music like we used to. It's because I feel bad about cutting it off. So we'll make it up to them, though. We'll do a whole hour of Madison Rising music or something of that nature if I can get around the laws there. So, caller, you're talking to Jeff Norton of the Midnight Patriot. Can you give me your first name and where you calling from?
Hey, Jeff. My name's Sean. I'm calling from Tennessee.
Hey, Sean.
You know, I've been listening to your show here a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
As well as America's Voice Now. We actually have a radio show here in Tennessee that we do.
Yeah.
Where we actually drag our politicians out on the air and make them answer questions.
It's, your Tennessee politicians, mind you.
Yeah, these are our state legislatures.
These are absolutely. I can give you a few names of someone I'd like to hear from. And stuff.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I've got a few names. But
yeah, there's quite a few names. One of the things that we're doing now is we're actually working with Major General Valley to promote a march here in Nashville on our state capitol.
Sure. You
know, get as many people in there, show them that we can shut down this, Music City.
Absolutely. You know, I remember I was in Nashville. Last time I was in Nashville, there was actually a huge protest because they were talking about doing a state income tax. And I remember that. I was visiting, for those that don't know, I actually grew up right outside of Nashville, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Went to Middle Tennessee State University. So I'm a little partial. My family's still there in Tennessee. And I love that part of the area. It's just it wasn't economically feasible for me to be there. Now, since then I could, times have changed and everything, but I still consider Tennessee somewhat. I'm rooted there.
Once you start out somewhere, it's always home, right?
Well, that was the thing is my father was military, so I've actually lived here in the north longer than I've lived actually in the south. But I still I still got a lot of friends there. I still got a lot of professor buddies there. Guys that I went to school with are now professors there at the university. Who would ever think that? We're lucky that we made it to this point in our lives that we didn't kill ourselves through alcoholism and different things. But no, I still consider Tennessee somewhat my home.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, we have our show here that we do here in Tennessee. It's actually the gentleman that does it's named Dave Vance. He is a retired veteran.
Oh, wow.
From the U.S. Army.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of interesting seeing that our veterans here are standing up.
Yeah.
And forcing our politicians to, admit their mistakes when they're right and wrong.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's the biggest thing is that we're making these people accountable now.
Yeah.
We've had where they're giving their hometown meetings and they're using their political ease and
yep.
You get 40 people out of 100 people that are there asking them, why did you do this? Why did you vote for this? Why did you vote for that?
Yep.
And it makes a big difference when they have to admit to us that they were wrong.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, what I don't want to say claim the fame, but when I was a young man going to high school there in Riverdale, I was actually the vice president of Tennessee for Tomorrow, which was actually a GOP. It was more of a political science kind of organization, but it was basically a small form of young Republicans. And I had and I tell people I got to grab the picture. My mom's got it from the Daily News Journal where I actually debated Al Gore, and took him to task, on his environmental. He was spewing this crap, when I was a young man, and in 86, 87, and he. Like I said, I actually debated him in the Daily News Journal there, the local newspaper, did an article on me. My mother's got a copy of it. Next time I visit her, I got to make a copy of it and post it out there. So as a young man, I was debating the liberals, fighting them.
It's kind of funny, like that video you were talking about. You sit there and you look at these people, and you're just like, well, okay, wait. stupidity is not something that is inherent to human nature.
Yeah.
Well, what are they learning to become that way?
Well, they're just brain dead. I mean, seriously, they're just they live in a rose-colored world where pink unicorns and everything is fine, and then the problem is when their friend or their girlfriend or whoever gets raped or killed or murdered or when the bankers or whatever steal their everything, then they're sitting there going, well, where's the justice? Where is it? Well, they don't understand that the organization and what they have subscribed to created this environment. Because last time I checked, Patriot, we believe in justice. We believe in swift justice. We don't believe in cuddling rapists and child molesters and everything. But, of course, who are we?
Right. We're just the people that get out in the farm fields. And,
yeah. We're the crazy gun nuts.
Open the auto repair shops every morning and, open our small corner stores.
That's right.
And make sure that,
go off and fight wars.
Making sure people are getting the medications they need, what do we count for?
Yeah, who are we? Exactly, and they don't realize that. Well, they realize it, they just won't acknowledge it.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things is that they don't like to acknowledge that we exist.
Yeah.
And when that becomes to that point, here in Tennessee, we actually have, a tradition. And in 1946, there's an incident called the Battle of Athens.
Yep.
And it's actually where the veterans stood up against the local county government.
Yep.
And a firefight ensued. It lasted from 6 o'clock in the evening until 3 o'clock in the morning until they blew the doors off with dynamite.
Yeah.
And took out the voter registration boxes and counted them.
Yep. I still, I still get the Tennessee Blue Book.
Oh, yeah.
So, and for those that don't know, this is an annual book that's published about all the politics and everything and some history of of Tennessee. It's called the Tennessee Blue Book. I still get copies of it. Whenever I can find them, I still get them. I grab them as much, because Tennessee, it's incredible. I mean, I've obviously spent a lot of time up there at the state capitol, with civics and everything, and it's amazing the history
too that a lot of people are seeing that it's kind of going unnoticed to the rest of the country is that we have forced our lawmakers to put in laws now to stop things.
Yes.
I mean, any federal law that's passed now has to go through a congressional state legislature to determine if it's constitutionally right to the United States Constitution, let alone our state constitution.
Yep, which is incredible. I know. I mean, Tennessee. Yep.
How many states have something like that?
Exactly.
I mean, there are states that are working to stop Common Core, working to stop, this and that and the other. But we've actually got it in place, and we hold them accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And that's the biggest thing.
Yep. Tennessee, like I said, it is a bastion. It's like Texas for conservative Tea Party. I know the huge Tea Party convention there. With Breitbart was there with Andrew and all those guys, and I actually think that Tennessee is where the Tea Party movement actually sprung from. So, but that's my limited knowledge.
I'm going to let you go here, but on April 16th, we are marching on our state capitol here, and I'm urging everyone that listens to your show or anybody that gets on Patriot Facebook or listens to Patriot Radio. Stand up for yourselves.
Yeah.
Don't sit idly by.
Yep.
Because you know what, the veterans, we'll be there for you if you need us.
Absolutely, and we're going to promote.
You never know, like you just said. Don't make friends. Don't make enemies of the soldiers out there because you never know which one of us is still a soldier.
We're gonna, exactly. We're gonna need you. We need every Patriot, but we're running out of time here. Real quick, how do I get to listen to your show besides Patriot FB when we get it on here?
Because we are working with you to get it on there. We are. You can also get us on.
15 seconds. We're going to lose you. You know what I'll do is
Conservative Network.
Conservative Network. All right, we'll get it.